I found out that my business account was completely emptied. My family took $75,000 the day before my wedding. My brother scoffed, saying, "Your fiancé is probably cheating anyway. Who would want a pathetic loser like you? We took what you owed us." My mother chuckled, saying that at least draining your account finally made you worthwhile. My father spat, "This is the only worth you'll ever have, funding our lives." I grinned and replied, "Enjoy it while it lasts." That night, I froze all my assets, called in their debts, and reported the theft. Today, they're panicking, leaving frantic messages in my voicemail. The bank is seizing everything, my mom's medication, and now they say we can't afford it, that we'll lose the house. Please, this was just phase 1. The real show hasn't even started yet. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but I suppose everyone says that before their family does something completely unhinged. Anyway, this actually began Wednesday night, not even on the wedding day. I was up late, barely sleeping, mainly running through the usual last-minute tasks before the wedding. My fiancée, Annabelle, wanted me to double-check the seating arrangements one more time. She's a perfectionist about that stuff. I'm not. I thought I'd just wake up early and stop by the venue in person. Around 8 a.m. Thursday, I received a strange text from one of the rental guys about a payment issue. It didn't raise any alarms at first. I just thought maybe I had entered the number incorrectly, or that the bank flagged it due to the large amount. But then he called saying the payment actually bounced, which made no sense because I knew exactly what was in that account. I keep it tightly managed, never mixing it with my personal finances, and I don't let anyone else access it to keep my family from sniffing around. There's a reason for that, but I'll get to that later. I checked the app just out of curiosity and saw that it wasn't just low, it was nearly empty, with only a little dust left, $75,000 gone. It wasn't just a random charge or a couple of grand. I'm talking about the entire amount. I sat there, staring at my phone in the parking lot, going through the last week in my mind. Nothing odd, no big transactions, and no one else should have had the information. I began checking the transaction history and found numerous outgoing transfers, not even disguised, just straight up sent out over the last 2 days, all to names I recognized. Wanda, my mom, Dwayne, my brother, and Barry, my dad. All split up as if they were ensuring no one would notice if you didn't look closely. This isn't the first time they've done something like this, just not to this extent. Growing up, Dwayne always thought I was the favorite, which was honestly a joke because it just meant I ended up dealing with their issues more often. Whenever something broke or someone needed help, guess who got called? They always wanted to remind me that I owed them for every little thing, even silly stuff like, "Oh, you ate too much at dinner in high school, so you can pay the electric bill now." Nobody ever talked about it, but it was always there. Dad used to say I was only good for covering the bills. Dwayne's been bitter since he didn't get into college and I did. Mom always took his side because it was easier for her that way. But this was a new level. I called Dwayne first because his name was on the largest transfer. He picked up sounding half asleep. I asked what was happening, and he just laughed, saying something about me needing to secure my belongings better. I told him it wasn't funny. Those funds were for the wedding and the business. He started in with the same old line, saying Annabelle probably found someone better since she was always out of my league and that I was a pathetic failure anyway. Now I finally paid them what I owed. Same old crap, just more vicious now that he had my money. I didn't argue. I just hung up and drove over to my parents' house. I wasn't even thinking about what I was going to say. I just wanted to see their faces and hear it straight. Wanda answered the door, not even looking surprised. She acted busy in the kitchen and told me to take off my shoes before coming inside, as if nothing was wrong. I went in, and Barry was sitting at the table scrolling through his phone. Dwayne was already there too, eating cereal without bothering to look up. I asked them straight out where my money was. No one even pretended to be confused. Wanda just said, "It's about time I did something useful." Then she added that at least now emptying your account finally made you worth something. Dwayne choked on his cereal, laughing, saying he hoped Annabelle would dump me because who would want a loser like me anyway? Barry just spat out that this was the only value I'd ever have, funding their lives, like I was just their personal ATM. I don't know what I was expecting, but not that. I kind of just stared at them for a moment, and Wanda shrugged, saying I shouldn't act so surprised. They raised me, didn't they? All 3 of them just sitting there like it was a joke. I lost it a bit, not proud of it, but I pushed Dwayne hard enough that his cereal spilled everywhere. He jumped up and tried to shove me back. We were yelling, and Mom was telling us both to grow up. Barry finally stood up and slammed his chair against the wall, saying he was sick of the drama. I told them if they thought this was the end, they were dumber than I thought. Wanda just laughed and said, "I'll get over it like I always do." Dwayne had this ugly little smirk, and Barry told me to leave unless I was going to pay for lunch too. I just told them to enjoy it while it lasted and walked out. I could hear Wanda slam the door behind me, which was honestly the most effort she'd put into anything in years. The whole drive back, I was just thinking about every time they'd pulled this kind of crap. It was always like this. Whenever I got even a little ahead, they'd find a way to drag me back down. Dwayne always needed to prove he was better, or at least that I was worse. Wanda wanted things to be easy, and I was the one she could guilt. Barry just needed someone to blame for everything he hated about his own life. They never saw me as a person, just a backup plan. When I got home, Annabelle was texting me about the florist. She had no idea any of this was happening. I wanted to tell her, but I couldn't, not yet. I wasn't letting this ruin her day, mine, or the wedding. I knew I should be freaking out, but honestly, I was just mad, like past sad or disappointed, just done. I'm not a kid anymore, and I'm not going to play their game. They want to treat me like a walking wallet? Fine, but it's the last time. I've got a plan. I'm not sharing details yet, but if you want an update, let me know. I'm not letting them get away with this. They can laugh now, but I promise they won't be laughing for long. Update 1 asterisk. The first strange thing happened when I woke up the next morning and saw Dwayne had posted some silly meme about easy money with a pile of cash on his Instagram story. Not even subtle. I didn't like it, but I was so drained from the night before that I just took a screenshot and moved on. At this point, I had already decided I wasn't going to give them a chance to screw me over again, so I went into full-on DEFCON mode. I got my phone and started making calls. Didn't even eat breakfast first. First thing I did was lock every asset in my name. It didn't matter if it was joint or just mine. I went through every app, every bank, every account, changed passwords, and froze outgoing payments. I called the bank, explained the situation, but left out some details. I just said there were transfers I never approved. They gave me the usual, "We'll look into it" speech. I wasn't expecting a miracle. I just wanted to ensure nothing else could vanish before I figured out my next move. Then I started thinking about all the things I'd paid for in the last year. Stuff I covered for the family because they always said they would pay me back. I had even floated Dwayne for his phone bill for about 4 months, and Wanda always had me as her emergency contact for her medication, just in case. I figured, why make it easy for them? So, I went on the medical portal and updated my info, so I wouldn't get calls about her prescription. I called the pharmacy and told them I wasn't paying for anything unless I signed off. It wasn't illegal, just not my problem anymore. I texted a few of their mutual acquaintances, people who always end up in group chats, and let it slip that I wasn't covering for my family anymore. I didn't say why, just that I was out. Let them ask questions. You could feel the ripple starting. People don't want to end up stuck with someone else's tab. I saw a bunch of their Facebook friends start pulling away too. Fewer likes, no more cheerful comments. Wanda called me twice that morning, straight to voicemail, no text. By lunchtime, Dwayne called, not even pretending to be calm. He just wanted to know if I'd fixed the account yet, because he had things to do. I told him to sort it out himself, and hung up when he started with the insults. 10 minutes later, he sent me a picture of his bank balance at 0, like it was my fault. I just replied with a thumbs up. He called again, but I let it ring. I got 3 more calls from Wanda and 1 from Barry, ignored them all. So yeah, next I started making a list of every debt, every little thing I'd let slide over the years. There was more than I thought. I had forgotten I paid for Dwayne's car repairs last summer, or when I bailed them out after their water got shut off. I wrote it all out in my notes app and started texting reminders to each of them. Nothing dramatic, just, "Hey, you still owe me for this. Let me know when you're ready to settle up." You could practically hear them grinding their teeth through the phone. Wanda sent me a string of crying emojis. Dwayne told me he'd pay me when hell freezes over. Barry didn't reply at all. I called a couple of places where I was listed as a reference or secondary on their accounts, utilities, landlord, cell phone plan, and told them I wasn't responsible for any charges or bills. I asked them to take my name off. No drama, no yelling, just business. It was kind of satisfying, honestly. In the meantime, I was still trying to keep it together for the wedding. Annabelle's mom showed up with a box of decorations and asked if everything was okay because I was apparently walking around like I wanted to punch a wall. I told her I was just stressed about the wedding, which wasn't even a lie, just not the whole story. Annabelle was texting me every hour, asking why I kept checking my phone. But I didn't want to burden her with this the day before. I'm not that kind of guy. The real fun began that night when Wanda called, not even saying hi. She just started yelling about how the pharmacy said her prescription wouldn't go through unless someone paid up front, and that she couldn't get her meds. I told her to ask Barry, because I wasn't her bank. She hung up. Dwayne texted me saying he couldn't use his card at the gas station, saying, "I ruined everything." I sent him a screenshot of his own meme from earlier, no caption. He blocked me. Barry actually showed up at my apartment around 8 p.m. He didn't call or knock, just pounded on the door until I opened it. He tried to push his way in, but I blocked him. He shoved me, and I pushed him back. He started going off about family duty and how I was letting everyone down, how I was turning my back on blood. I told him to get lost. He slapped the door frame and muttered something about how I'd regret this. I shut the door in his face, and he kicked the trash can on his way out. Later that night, I checked my phone and saw like 11 missed calls from all three of them, plus 2 voicemails from Wanda. Both just her crying and gasping about how I was putting her in the hospital. Dwayne sent me a long message about how I was always the golden child, and now I was showing my true colors. Whatever that meant. Barry sent a single word: traitor. I started to feel a little uneasy about it. But then I remembered how they were laughing at me less than 24 hours before. I'm not doing this for drama. I just want them to finally understand. I'm not their safety net, not their piggy bank, and not their emotional punching bag. Friday morning, still not a word from any of them except for Wanda's. I need my pills, texts, and Dwayne's threats about coming over. I locked my door, kept my phone on silent, and went to get coffee with my buddy Colby. He gets it. His own family is a circus too. I told him the basics, and he shook his head, saying I was finally growing a spine. I laughed, but honestly, it felt like the first time in a while that I was actually doing something for myself. So yeah, that's where things stand now. My family is losing their minds, I'm not backing down, and honestly, I'm just getting started. If they think this is as bad as it gets, they're about to find out. I'm done being the nice guy. Let me know if you want another update. I've got more moves planned, and I'm not stopping until they learn I'm not the same pushover they raised. Update 2 asterisk, I didn't even mention the weirdest part yet. Wanda actually tried to tag me in a Facebook post about family loyalty, saying kids these days forget who raised them right after all the money stuff went down. Not even subtle. I didn't respond. I just let it sit there. The comments were all from her friends saying things like, "Hang in there, kids are selfish now." I didn't bother jumping in, but it set the tone for what came next. I guess the first real sign that things were getting tough for them was Dwayne blowing up my phone Saturday morning. Not just texts, but actual calls, which is rare for him unless he wants something. He started off all angry, saying I ruined his weekend, and he couldn't pay his phone bill now, then switched to blaming Wanda for making it about her again. Apparently, she'd gone to their Aunt Tracy crying about how I was abandoning her. Tracy sent me a long Facebook message asking what was really going on and if I needed to cool off. I told her straight up that they stole $75,000 from me, and I wasn't paying for anything for them ever again. She didn't reply for a while, then just said she hoped we could work it out. Yeah, sure. Then I started getting messages from old family friends, people I only see at funerals or whatever, asking if the rumors about me stealing from my own parents were true. Wanda must have spun some wild tale because the way they were talking, you'd think I robbed her at gunpoint. I just kept answering with one line, asking them where the money went. That shut most of them up, but it was annoying as hell. People love gossip more than facts. Meanwhile, Annabelle finally noticed that all my group chats with her family were muted and asked if my mom was still upset about the wedding catering. I almost laughed and just said, "Family's complicated." She shrugged and dropped it. She had her own drama with her cousin's breakup, so she wasn't pressing, but I could tell she knew something was off, just maybe not how deep it went. I'm not hiding it forever. I'm just not letting my family ruin her family's vibe too. Around noon, Dwayne showed up at my apartment. He didn't text, just buzzed until I opened the door. He was all worked up, saying Wanda was crying nonstop and Barry was breaking things in the garage. He was convinced I was going to ruin their lives if I didn't fix it. I told him they did this to themselves, and he threw his phone at the wall, which bounced and hit the door. I told him if he broke anything else, he'd have to pay for it. He tried to shove me, I pushed back, and he swung at me, just grazing my shoulder. I shoved him toward the door and told him he wasn't welcome. He called me a selfish jerk and stormed out, slamming the door so hard that a picture fell off the wall. I picked it up and tossed it on the couch, not even mad, just tired. After that, Wanda started with the guilt trip texts. She sent a selfie of her holding an empty pill bottle, as if I was supposed to drop everything and rush to the pharmacy. I just replied, "Ask her if she still has my money." She didn't respond for an hour, then sent a sad face emoji. I blocked her for the day. Barry tried calling but didn't leave a message. Tracy called me, saying I was making a scene. I laughed and asked her if she was covering their rent this month. She hung up. By Monday, the fallout really started to show. I got a call from the landlord at their building saying their payment bounced, and Wanda gave him my number as a backup. I said no, not my problem. He said he'd give them until Friday, then it would be late fees. Dwayne's ex texted me, saying he tried to borrow money from her and told her I had frozen the whole family out. She asked if I thought he'd pay her back if she helped. I told her honestly, probably not. She thanked me and blocked him. Wanda's bridge club friend Lorraine messaged me on Facebook, saying Wanda wasn't answering her calls and was too embarrassed to show her face. I just replied, maybe she should ask Wanda why. Then I logged off. It's wild how quickly people stop reaching out once you stop being the dependable one. I'm not even sad, just sort of amazed at how fast it all flipped. Barry apparently tried to pawn a watch I bought him for his birthday a few years ago. My cousin sent me a picture of it at the shop, and I just replied, enjoy it. I didn't care. The real kicker was the banking stuff. I got a letter, actual mail, not email, saying there were irregularities on a couple of joint accounts from years ago when I was still helping them out. Nothing illegal, just noted that any shared funds were now frozen until the mess was sorted. I texted Wanda, telling her to stop trying to access anything with my name on it. She replied with a single word. Why? I ignored her. At the rehearsal dinner, Annabelle's mom cornered me, saying my mom called her crying about how I was shutting out the family and asked if we still needed a ride to the airport for our honeymoon. I said we were fine, but thanks. She gave me a look like she was about to say something more, then just squeezed my shoulder and walked away. I guess she knew better than to get in the middle of things. The next day, I received a series of voicemails from Wanda, sobbing about her medications and how she had nothing left. Dwayne yelled in his voicemail that he was done with all of us. Barry was silent except for one message where you could just hear him banging something around in frustration. No actual apologies, no taking responsibility, just more drama. By Wednesday, Tracy messaged me again, expressing concern for Wanda's health and asking if I could just be the bigger person. I replied that I'd been the bigger person for 30 years, so maybe it was their turn. She just said she was sorry I felt that way. I started telling a few people the real story when they asked. Nothing dramatic, just the facts. Some believed me, some didn't. My cousin Barry, same name as my dad, actually said he always figured something was off with the way they treated me, but that it wasn't his business. I responded, well, it is now. The only one I hadn't heard from was Barry, my dad, except for a voicemail where he just said, you'll regret this, and then silence. Classic. So yeah, I'm not even close to being done. They wanted to squeeze me for every dime, but now the squeeze is on them. I'm not bailing them out, not this time, not ever. It's kind of wild how quickly all their friends and supporters disappear when the money dries up. I'm not sorry, I'm just getting started. If you're still reading, thank you. I'll update after the wedding or if they try anything crazy. Trust me, they're not out of tricks, and neither am I. Final update asterisk, it's been a while, but I said I'd return with the aftermath. Honestly, I didn't think it would get this messy, but here we are. I guess I should have expected it. Nothing about these people ever goes smoothly. The first strange thing was Wanda posting this long, dramatic Facebook status about life storms and how family turns on you for money. She tagged like 6 people, but not me. Dwayne reshared it with some fake deep quote about snakes in the grass, and Barry left a passive-aggressive comment about how real men take care of their parents. I didn't even read the whole thing. I just scrolled past. It set the tone. They weren't even trying to fix anything, just starting a pity parade. Classic. I started getting daily voicemails. Wanda crying, Dwayne cursing, and Barry being silent except for one message where you could hear him banging something around. Tracy called, saying Wanda hadn't left the house in days and asked if I could please just let it go. I told her if she wanted to help so badly, she could pay their rent. She hung up. The banking situation escalated way faster than I expected. I guess when you freeze everything and stop paying, the dominoes fall quickly. Wanda texted me this long message about how the bank was seizing everything and she couldn't afford her medication. Dwayne left a voicemail yelling that he was going to sue me, claiming I ruined his life and that his car was getting repossessed. Barry tried to show up at my place again, but I didn't answer the door. He stood there banging for a few minutes, then went quiet. I checked the peephole, and he was just sitting on the steps, head in his hands. Then he finally stood up and kicked the mailbox. He didn't even bother calling afterward. I heard from a neighbor that Wanda tried selling jewelry to make rent, but the pawn shop didn't give her much. Dwayne apparently tried to borrow money from Tracy and was told to get a job instead. Barry's been attempting to secure loans from people at his bowling league, but no one is interested. A few of their friends unfriended me on Facebook, but honestly, I don't care. Most of them just shared Wanda's post and moved on. Annabelle finally asked what was going on when she saw me ignoring a call from Wanda. I told her the whole story, and she just sat there quiet for a moment before asking if I was okay. I said, "Yeah, I'm fine, just tired of being a doormat." She hugged me and said she was proud I finally stood up for myself. We both laughed about how we'd probably get hate mail from Wanda for the next 10 years, but whatever. The wedding itself went smoothly. No drama on my side because nobody showed up. Wanda sent a text during the ceremony, unable to make it through even one day, but I just muted my phone and kept going. Annabelle's family danced until midnight, and I ended up playing Mario Kart with her little cousins in the lobby. It was the best night I've had in a long time. Right after the honeymoon, I came home to more voicemails. Wanda was sobbing about the house, Dwayne was threatening to go public. With what? And Barry was just grunting. Tracy called, suggesting maybe it was time to be the bigger man and move on. I told her I had moved on, and so should they. I guess the real moment it hit me that all this was permanent was when Wanda tried one more time to guilt me into helping. She sent me a photo of her old wedding dress, saying she'd have to sell it just to stay afloat. I just replied, "Hope it's worth more than you ever gave me." She didn't respond. So yeah, now it's officially over. I guess they lost the house and moved into a smaller rental. Dwayne's living with some guy from work and complains on Facebook daily. Barry doesn't even bother calling anymore. I get the occasional guilt text from Wanda, but I just ignore them or block the number if she gets too wild. Here's the thing. I know there are people reading this who probably think I went too far or that I should have just let it go. But nobody lived in my shoes for over 30 years. They never saw me as a person, just a wallet with legs. Every time I got ahead, they'd pull me back down. They made it clear that I was only valuable for what I could provide, and when I stopped giving, they finally had to figure it out themselves. I'm not sorry. I still get weird looks at the grocery store sometimes or random Facebook messages from someone who heard Wanda's side and thinks I'm the villain. Honestly, I'd rather be hated for having boundaries than loved for being a doormat. The last message I got from Barry just said, "Don't come back." I won't. Final note asterisk if you're reading this and thinking about setting boundaries with your own toxic family. Yeah, it's messy and awkward. People will pick sides, and you might lose more than you expected, but you also get to stop living for people who'd never do the same for you. I'm not giving them a second chance, they had plenty. Thanks for sticking with my mess. If anything changes, I'll update, but for now, I'm out.